This just in. As a small service business owner, are you terrified of competing against massive corporations that are desperately trying to automate their entire workflow with artificial intelligence? Well, you can officially stop panicking because their multi-billion-dollar software is actually incredibly stupid and you can easily exploit it. This was not meant to be a serious scientific experiment. I was sitting with a crossword puzzle, hit a wall, and almost as a reflex, I decided to ask the machines for help. Out of mild curiosity, I fed clues into ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, and Perplexity. The results were not just wrong, they were hilariously, structurally pathetic. Every single one of these digital geniuses gave me answers with the completely wrong number of letters. Some offered words that were physically impossible given the crossing letters already on the board. At least one model confidently supplied an answer, and when I pointed out the error, it aggressively supplied a completely different word with the exact same unearned confidence and absolutely zero acknowledgement that it had just contradicted itself. One of them just invented a word that doesn't exist in the English language. These are supposedly the most sophisticated AI tools available to the general public. They can draft an airtight legal contract, explain complex corporate tax structures, and write functional software code in seconds. But not a single one of them could fill out a 5-letter word for type of jazz that actually fit the space. The crossword completely broke them. As a StoryBrand certified guide, I am constantly warning businesses not to blindly trust algorithmic shortcuts. Understanding exactly why the machine failed at a children's word game is one of the most useful things you can know as a business owner. So let's rip apart the absolute absurdity of tokenization, explore why the tech industry is passing off narrow intelligence as a sentient brain, and discuss how you can use undeniable human authority to completely obliterate your competitors. By the way, if you're new here, I'm Vicky Sidler, a StoryBrand certified guide and duct tape marketing strategist from the Strategic Marketing Tribe. And I help small business owners like you build failure-proof marketing by focusing on the exact 20% of efforts that drives 80% of the results. All so that your marketing stops feeling like a miserable second job you never asked for. But let's be honest, your customers are absolutely exhausted by frustrating, generic corporate chatbots and automated slop that lacks basic human logic. The fastest way to steal market share from these massive corporations is to prove you actually have a pulse. So stop fighting robots on their own turf and establish undeniable human authority instantly with my 5-minute marketing fix. You can get it for free in the description below, or you can go to strategicmarketingtribe.com/fix. Okay, now with all of that out of the way, why does a supercomputer hallucinate basic spelling? You might naturally assume that a machine capable of writing functional Python code in 3 seconds can easily count the letters in a simple word. But you would be entirely wrong. To understand this hilarious failure, you have to understand something called tokenization. AI does not actually read words the way a human being does. It reads tokens, which are clusters of characters grouped by statistical frequency in their training data. For example, when you type the word strawberry, the AI processes it as 2 distinct tokens, straw and berry. The model never actually sees the individual letters. It is looking at shapes of meaning, not characters on a page. A crossword puzzle is a purely character-level problem, entirely governed by spatial constraints that operate at the letter level. This is exactly where large language models, or LLMs, are architecturally weakest. Peer-reviewed research from the Indian Statistical Institute confirms that even state-of-the-art models produce length errors 46.4 to 59.9% of the time. The machine knows what a word means. It just literally cannot tell you how many letters are in it. But is this just a bug that they'll fix in the next update? Well, tech executives desperately want you to believe that this is just a minor temporary glitch that will vanish in the next multi-billion-dollar software patch. But this flaw is baked into the foundation. This is not a bug. It is the architecture. LLMs are at their absolute core next token predictors. They are extraordinarily good at inferring meaning and generating coherent prose because they process the statistical relationships between meaning units. But the moment you assign a task that requires manipulating individual characters, like counting letters, fitting an exact grid, or solving an enneagram, you have stepped completely outside of the architecture's native domain. Research published at Stanford confirms that this is not a simple gap to close, noting that crosswords are an extremely difficult task for LLMs precisely because the constraints break them. A purpose-built crossword AI does exist. A program named Dr. Phil won a US crossword competition in 2021. But it isn't a language model. It is a highly specialized constraint satisfaction system. It does one thing extremely well, and it cannot do anything else. That distinction matters enormously because it answers the question, are we actually dealing with artificial general intelligence? The absolute greatest magic trick the tech industry ever pulled was convincing the general public that a glorified autocomplete machine is actually a sentient, all-knowing brain. Here is the brutal truth that most AI marketing aggressively hides from you. Every AI tool you currently use is narrow intelligence wearing a generalist costume. IBM's official taxonomy is incredibly blunt about this, stating that even OpenAI's ChatGPT is considered a form of narrow AI because it is limited strictly to text-based chat. Artificial general intelligence, the kind that can actually reason across novel domains like a human being, remains entirely theoretical. Nobody has built it. Modern LLMs are confusing because their narrow domain is extremely wide. They can write, code, summarize, and translate, creating a very convincing illusion of general intelligence. But the crossword reveals the frayed edge of the costume. The exact moment you need to count characters, hold a grid in mind, and reason about intersecting spatial positions simultaneously, the model reliably fails. The task simply falls outside what it was built to do. But now, how do you protect your business when there is no grid? Because you cannot afford to blindly trust a piece of software that confidently lies to you just because it sounds highly professional. This is not an argument for distrust. It is an argument for appropriate trust. LLMs are genuinely excellent at tasks that live inside language, like drafting, editing, and summarizing. But they are structurally weak at tasks that require precise counting, working memory across multiple interdependent variables, or exact spatial reasoning. If you use AI for strategic competitive analysis that requires constraint satisfaction across multiple real-world variables, the model will do exactly what it did with my crossword clues. Produce something that sounds incredibly confident, but is structurally incorrect. The crossword is a highly useful test precisely because the errors are so visible. 7 letters crammed into a 5-letter space is an undeniable failure. But here is the terrifying part. Most business tasks don't come with a grid to check against. You need a clear structural foundation to protect your brand from unseen automated errors. So get my 5-minute marketing fix. This rapid diagnostic tool uses your actual human brain to craft a crystal clear story brand one-liner. It gives you a standardized, reliable framework to establish genuine human connection. You cannot beat a billion-dollar algorithm at its own game, but you can easily beat it with empathy. So prove to your customers that you aren't just another lazy corporation pushing unchecked AI slop, but a fiercely human guide who actually has a plan to solve their problem. Stop publishing automated garbage. Download the fix now. You can get it for free in the description below, or you can go to strategicmarketingtribe.com/fix. But what about you? What is the most confident lie you have ever seen an AI tell? I'll go first. Google's AI overview recently told users to add non-toxic glue to their pizza sauce to keep the cheese from sliding off, completely failing to understand the basic real-world constraints of human digestion. Okay, your turn. What's the worst you've seen? Let me know in the comments. And if you like this video, you might like this one too. It's about why the public is literally revolting against AI and how to cash in. And this is one that YouTube thinks you might like, so check it out and see if the algorithm is right. That's it from me. I'm Vicky Sidler from the Strategic Marketing Tribe, and I post helpful news updates for small businesses every day.